Roster here. I'll
Good
forget some.
morning and welcome to Overtime with Messer. This morning is North Decatur basketball preview show, even though the girls kind of kicked off, got a few games underway. We're sitting here this morning with Coach Tyler Johnson of our North Decatur Lady Chargers. It'd be nice for Coach Johnson to kind of give us a rundown maybe of his roster. So Coach, if you would, maybe starting with your varsity, and if you want to talk all the way down through, kind of give us a little rundown of some of the ladies that you've got playing this year.
Yeah, so again, appreciate WTRE for having us this morning. We've got a good blend of girls coming back here, and I'll start with our seniors in Carmen Thackeray. Carmen and Joe Whitaker and Libby Crawford are our three seniors. And they played some varsity ball last year and years prior. Jewel Versman, Grace Nobby, Leonie Clemente are our juniors, and then Nora Amberger comes up from the JV team last year. Brinley Green, Brooklyn White round out our sophomores, and then just got one freshman on the varsity roster and in Allie Gray. So she's playing a lot of JV ball right now, but is called upon when she's needed. So that kind of rounds out the varsity roster. And then Coach Hostetler's JV team, some girls to mention, Liza Kennelly, Lachey Dwiggins, Macy Leak, Jessie Biltz, Kieran Lusk, and Nevaeh Schwartz round off our junior varsity Lady Chargers.
So, Coach, as you're kind of reading down through there, some of the schools that we find on our schedule don't always necessarily have enough girls to be able to play a full JV game. And I feel like at North, we've been very lucky with consistent participation numbers. But talk about, the importance of keeping your numbers up and the development within your program and what that's able to do for you down the road.
Well, as you know, Coach, it really starts at a young level, at kindergarten and on up. We've got to always continue to build the numbers, build the program up so that each year we're just kind of retooling instead of rebuilding. We are lucky. Probably half the teams on our schedule at this point that we know of, at least before injuries and whatnot, are either playing a two-quarter JV game or don't have any JV team. So, we want to try every year to try and get as many quarters for these girls as possible. So thankful for the girls that, that we had a couple that joined here after volleyball season to kind of help give us a little bit more depth and help things from a practice flow standpoint. So that was good to have. But, we're going to continue to try to, get girls in the gym in the off season, preseason, to make sure that we've got a good solid base of players to help build the program. So.
Yeah, and I've got a daughter involved with your youth level, and talk about some of the things that from the not just JV varsity perspective, but some of the things that you have maybe introduced at North here to give some of these younger girls maybe more opportunity other than maybe just being able to play intramural ball at the elementary level and give them also opportunities to develop.
Well, as a junior varsity coach, I was lucky that Coach Laker kind of gave me the reins on building a youth league within our own program. So that was the first year last year for that, and the second this year. We had almost 50 girls participate. So Wednesdays and Saturdays they're playing in October, late September, and then from there we try to funnel those girls into some of the I call them AAU teams or school-based teams that travel to Hauser. So each grade level, second, third grade, has a team, fourth grade, fifth grade, and sixth grade. So, something that we've really needed over the past, 15 to 20 years at North for the girls' side. It's a work in progress, and we're building to that point where each class comes through. As we graduate a class, we don't want to have a down year. Just bring those girls in every year and just kind of reload. So I know the boys, in your case, have had a lot of success doing that, and we kind of just want to copy and emulate that as we go. So looking forward to seeing the girls' progression as we go through, but we've got a bright future with some girls that really enjoy playing the game. So I'm excited just to continue to build upon what we started here early in the first year and a half. So
yeah, and I'm a firm believer. You can have your open gyms, you can have your practices, but until those girls kind of get out on the floor and see the flow of the game and see how the game is actually played, and getting to go out there and play against other competition, you really start seeing some light bulbs come on. Watching your third grade play over at the Hauser League those first couple weeks, it's crazy from the very first half of basketball they played to the last one that I got to witness. Just understanding and basic understanding of, I take the ball out here, I wait for the official to give it to me. Just some basic odds and ends things that I think pays dividends for you in the long run.
Well, and I have to give a lot of credit to those volunteer coaches that help, donate their time and their energy and their effort, because it takes a great deal of patience, as you know, to coach young kids that just are learning the game of basketball. It takes a lot of patience, especially in a day and age where we don't go home and watch a lot of basketball on TV. There's a lot of learning as we go type of situation. So very grateful for those coaches that are putting in that time and energy with the kids. And I recognize a few of them here. Mark and Kelsey Haley are coaching our 5th and 6th grade team. Adam Land is one of our coaches. And then Brad Burkett and Nathan Root are our other coaches. So, again, each grade level has a team, and looking forward to seeing how they progress as we continue. I think they're about halfway done with the Hauser League, and we've had a good run of luck here early on. So.
Yeah. So let's kind of switch gears here, and let's go back to your varsity squad. Obviously, we graduated a very talented and competitive, winning senior class. Talk about some of the things that are to-be upperclassmen now, or I guess they wouldn't be to-be, they would be the upperclassmen. Some of the characteristics and traits that some of these girls that are still here were able to kind of garner from the winning habits of that class and the talent level, and how you kind of see that or have noticed that carry over into what you are starting to see this year with a whole, basically, brand new squad outside of a handful of girls.
Yeah, so we've got, in Carmen and Joe, 2 returning starters. But I think the biggest returning aspect of this team is just the culture that Doug created over the last several years. Just the expectation of, how we do things, how we approach things. We are maybe out of position in a place or two in terms of what we've had to do or been called upon in the past. So, that takes a little bit of time to get used to and kind of make those adjustments. Unfortunately for us, we're kind of baptized by fire here with the way our schedule kind of plays out with some tougher, bigger schools at the beginning. But, we don't necessarily take that as as an excuse. We use it as an opportunity to get better each and every day. So, where Carmen was more off of the ball last year, and with Maddie Allen being the point guard, we're asking Carmen to do a lot more when it comes to handling the ball. Joe Whitaker, has typically played more in the post. She's kind of played both post and on the perimeter this year. And then, Jewel coming back, she's going to have to handle the ball a little bit more too to help, get the ball out of Carmen's hands. So, we'll make some adjustments as the year goes on, and other teams as they start to scout us and make their adjustments, we'll kind of have to, go from there. But, I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. We kind of took it on the chin here the last couple games, but we've got Batesville tonight, and then we've got some winnable games next week against some schools that I think right now are trying to find their footing as well. So looking forward to that opportunity as we continue to go on through the season.
Yeah, and Sorry. And one last thing, Coach, in regards to the makeup of your roster, you kind of had a surprise transfer in this year with Leone. I've had the opportunity to have a couple different exchange students come in and play within the program, and sometimes the language barrier makes things tough from a standpoint of understanding how maybe America plays the game versus
Right.
whatever host country or whatever country, sorry, that they came from. Talk about what she brings to your squad, because from what I can tell, based on what limited action and practice that I've seen in your game so far, she provides some pretty good value for you.
Yeah, so we kind of heard back about a year ago that, hey, we're going to potentially have a transfer student that wants to play, and sometimes over the course of, this will be my 10th year here at Decatur County as a coach between North and South, and we've had plenty of transfer students before, and you're kind of like, yeah, that's exciting that you want to play. Well, when we first day that Leone stepped on the floor, it was just refreshing to see the kind of competitor that she is. The game is going about 100 miles an hour for her right now, and she's got to get adjusted to that pace of play from coming over from Italy. But I think she's going to provide a great deal of energy and just aggressiveness on the defensive end that's going to help us a lot as we go into our league play and into the sectional. So, she's been a great lift for us and kind of filled some gaps that we needed to fill as we came into the season. So looking forward to her as she starts to kind of settle down and get things under her belt a little bit. So
Awesome. Well, Coach, good luck to you girls and you guys as the season continues to kick off, and good luck tonight. We will end this segment thanking our sponsors, Gillen and Howell Funeral Home, Acre Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy-Rite Auto. We'll be back.
Well, welcome back to the Coaches Show this morning. We're here with North Decatur boys and girls basketball coaches. I'm Tyler Johnson here with the boys coach, PJ Metz. And Coach, I know I just got started rolling with practices here last couple weeks. Was this your first full week this week, or is this week number 2?
This is week number 1.
Okay.
We were able to get kicked off on Monday. And it's always a double-edged sword because while I'm very happy to get going, that means that unfortunately football gets beat. Now we could have practiced without those guys, but it kind of feels like open gym settings because when everybody eventually joins back into the fold, you're kind of going back over everything anyway. But yeah, this was our first week of practice.
So, give us, Coach, a little bit of a breakdown on. Graduated quite a few seniors last year off your sectional championship team. You've got some guys coming back that played significant minutes for you. Give us an idea of what the Charger basketball team is going to look like in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got 3 returning lettermen. 2 were my starting backcourt. So any coach will probably mirror what I'm getting ready to say. When you can return your point guard and your 2 guard, that's a pretty good foundation to start with. But going with a breakdown of what I have on my roster currently, I've got 3 seniors. One of them being Logan Odell. He's started at the 2 guard for the last 2 years for me. Provides me with some range and a heavy dose of athleticism. He's a lefty, can shoot the ball pretty well. Mason Coons is another senior that I've got who's about 6'3", 6'4", very fast twitch, jumpy. And will provide us with another great dose of athleticism that I won't see a lot at the 1A level with some of our other opponents. I've got Garrett Schwering, who I'll just call him a grinder. He's scrappy. He gets his hands on balls. He does a lot of the little things that aren't necessarily going to show up in a scorebook, but I know what I get with Garrett. I can rely on him. I can trust him. I know he's always going to do the right thing. And provides a great dose of in-locker room leadership for us, with those kind of little small intangibles. And then when I get down through it, I've got one junior in Owen Rennekamp who is our engine. He's going to make us go this year. He's a really nice player and has really expanded his game with every year that he's been able to play at the high school level. Being a freshman, he was able to kind of shadow. I kind of shackled him and Caden Muckerhide together, and then when Caden graduates, Owen kind of took over the reins and had some growing pains last year as a sophomore. But by the end of the year last year, he was probably our most valuable player. With the things that he was able to do in sectional and just the steady presence of ball handling he provides for us. And then you get down to we had a 17-3 JV team last year, and probably one of the more talented JV squads that I have had since I've been at the varsity level. They're all sophomores, unless I'm misremembering somebody right now off the top of my head. But they're not just talented; they're two-way talented, and I can't overstate that enough. At our level, when I'm out scouting a team and I look at a kid and I'm like, hey, this kid can't shoot from the perimeter. We don't necessarily need to pay much attention to him. You can't say this with these guys. Matthew Fields is obviously the varsity quarterback there at the high school, and he provides us with everything that a QB does on the football field, but he brings that competitiveness and that value to the basketball court. Leadership. He's a heck of a competitor. Every single drill we do, he's competing hard. He's stretched out a little bit. He's probably up 6'2", 6'3", so the value that he provides with his size and his strength also can stretch the floor with the ability to shoot the basketball. And then I get into Sam Crowell, who's a lefty and kind of a 3-and-D guy. He had a really good freshman year last year at the JV level, and he's another one that will compete and provide value for us at different times with different situations at the varsity level. And then I get into Henry Kinker. Henry's another football guy. He's a competitor. You obviously got to watch his sister Claire play the last few years, and I never have to question if I'm getting everything Henry has because he's given it, and he'll make up for maybe mistakes or maybe other areas that he lacks from a skill perspective with how hard he goes. And then lastly, Charlie Palmer. can't be overstated enough the kind of athlete he is with the strength and size that he brings to a 1A level school. He gives us a great back-to-the-basket presence, and I don't know of too many people on our schedule, period, whether it's 1A or not, who are going to be able to push him around and move him. Such a strong kid, and he's spent a lot of time, because he would probably agree with me, his freshman year was disappointing for him, I think, from a statistical standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, and from the spring on, he spent a lot of time individually just working in his barn on plyometrics. And this kid shows up in the summertime, and we start playing our summer league games, and he's getting up off the floor, he's rebounding, his movement looks more fluid, and he'd kind of shared with me that he's been really working on that, and I think it's going to pay big time dividends for him this year.
Yeah, so you mentioned Owen Rennekamp and the jump that he made. He reminds me a lot of, as Boilermaker fans, we obviously want to compare a lot of point guards to Braden Smith, but I thought as the season progressed, Owen became more of a liability for teams when it came to shooting the basketball from the perimeter. Talk a little bit about Owen's development as a player here over the last few months and year and a half, and kind of where you foresee him going as the season progresses.
He's a junkie. Basketball junkie, and he wants to be good. Great. I'll say he wants to be great. I know he's got aspirations of wanting to play at the next level. And it's nothing for me to hear, people that go in at the YMCA and work out in the mornings are like, hey, your point guard's in here 2 or 3 times a week lifting extra on top of everything else that we're doing, or every practice so far, and it's only, we've only had 5 of them, he's staying after for an extra half hour, 45 minutes, getting extra shots up, putting extra work in. And I already know I'm pretty good friends with his neighbor where he lives at, and just in passing, like, telling me how shocked I would be, and well, it doesn't really shock me, but normally he's up and down running the roads for conditioning, and that's just things and that's drive that a lot of kids these days just don't have. But he does have the drive to be great, and he is a great example of, if you want to be great and you're truly driven to be, you find ways, right? You find ways to put in extra work and to do the extra things. And while his shot was kind of shaky as a freshman and part of his sophomore year, I know the extra reps that he came in and put in on the gun and working on his form and getting it to where he wants to be, to where now you can't leave him open.
Right.
He can snake off of that ball screen and he'll pull it. And it's right now, which, not being a football kid and being able to be in the gym more, he's probably one of our more consistent shooters. So it's been great to see that development for him pay off.
Well, and it's so good to have that kind of commitment from your point guard. It sets the standard for the rest of the team to kind of emulate. And it sets a standard for the program as well to show the younger kids what it can be, or what you can make out of maybe a situation where he could make an excuse like, he's a little undersized, he might be a little this or that, but he doesn't use that as a crutch. He uses as a motivator to get better.
Yeah, and I talked about the strength thing from him a little bit ago. Like, he's 5'9" on a good day, and maybe 130, 35 pounds sopping wet. But we go in the weight room and we'll max out, and he's squatting 350, 375, and he's benching close to 200, 205. It's like those are numbers that are just staggering for a kid that's putting in the time to be great, and being consistent with it. Some of us can just lift in the off season and say forget about it, but he wants to continue to get better with every rep that he takes.
Another one you talked about is Mason Kuntz and his ability to just his length, his athleticism, and we talked about this the other day. Might go down as one of the best dunkers that the Chargers have ever had. So he's an exciting player, I guess, to watch and kind of see what his next play is going to be. Talk a little bit about him and maybe where he's at and where he can go here this year.
Yeah, his wingspan, he's one that, a lot of times when you put your fingertips out and go wide, your height is probably equal to your length in regards to your arm length. But I bet he's got, if his knuckles aren't hanging past his knees, I'd be shocked. He just got that extraordinary extra length that kind of goes along with him. And last year he was stuck in a tough spot being the 8th man on varsity, where I never knew how many quarters I would need him for, barring foul trouble. hindsight being what it is. I wish I would have played him more at the JV level to get more repetition, but from night to night, you just never know. But there were multiple games where he had 3-4 dunks in a single game, and I don't know outside of Lance Nobby if I've had more than a dunk in any game that
Right.
I'm able to coach at this level. We just, for whatever reason, at North Decatur, we just don't see that kind of fast twitch jumping ability or height necessarily out of our athletes, and Mason certainly has both. He's the first. I'm not sitting here saying he's a lob threat off every pick and roll, but he's the first guy that I've kind of told Owen Rennekamp adjust to throwing it up to the rim and just letting him go get it. And the adjustment started to be made this summer with Owen starting to realize, some big guys you want to put a little bounce pass down for them to catch it in the pocket. With Mason, he's kind of a fearless jumper. Just throw it up there and let him go get it, and he will. And he may not always go up and get it for an alley-oop necessarily, but he can go up, keep it high, and lay it in, and it provides an extra weapon and strategy, so to speak, for us.
Talk a little bit, Coach, about your outlook kind of on your season, your schedule. How does your conference look? How's the sectional look? I know there's not a whole lot of difference in the sectional and conference as in maybe years past, but other schools that you play that are important games for you, what's kind of the outlook you see for some of those teams?
Our outlook will really be dependent upon our sophomores and the growth and the jump that they make and how quickly they make it. When I look at the breakdown of our roster, I've got I've said this before. I've one of everything. I've got the steady point guard. I've got the big guy who can jump. I've got the big guy who's got strength with his back to the basket. I've got a bevy of wings who all do different things well. So if those guys can continue to make that jump, there's no reason why. You don't want to sit here and guess on win totals or anything like that. But if we're not competing for our conference, if we're not competing again to win our sectional, I'll be very, very surprised come March or whenever our conference season wraps up. But obviously, Hauser still returns a pretty good core and they've won conference, I believe, the last 2 years. And their senior class is a very nice class, and they've had some good juniors on their JV team last year. They're going to add to that varsity core of seniors. But outside of them, I know South has their 2 transfers in that will make them more competitive. Those 2 plus us are probably going to be, in my mind, the favorites for MHC conference, unless I'm just flat forgetting a team out there that not jumping out to me at the moment. But then when you get into our sectional has kind of turned into our conference tournament. But Hauser's not in, but Knightstown is, and Tri for that matter. And I do think Knightstown will be a threat more so this year than what they were last year. They were, I don't know if they had a senior on the roster, and they played us tough 2 games when we were senior heavy last year. So, with them and then those 2 schools, or the 1 school in South, and you never know with Tri. They had a really talented big man last year who was a freshman, and if he made a pretty significant jump, he could be a bear for us to stop come sectional time as well.
Coach, we talked a little bit about the varsity and junior varsity. Talk a little bit about your 7th and 8th grade teams, and I know a lot of your youth teams are getting rolling too for your dirt road league. So talk a little bit about state of the program, so to speak.
I'm blessed. I'm lucky. Being a North Decatur grad, going through school there, and during my time, and pretty much I took a year hiatus to play college basketball, and then my sophomore year I got right back into it, coaching right back at home. So I've got to see a lot of different groups come through, and I don't say this. Hopefully, I say this pretty confidently that my 8th grade all the way down through right now, when I'm looking to my 3rd grade, is probably as many classes stacked back to back to back with talent than I've had or can remember at North. Mm-hmm. I don't have any one-man senior classes or no-man senior classes, which, my first few years, I think this is year 6 for me. I think after next year, I'm going to be down to graduating 3 one-man classes. And seniors win in a lot of areas and a lot of ways for you with their experience, especially at 1A schools. But when we get these groups, like I said, these 8th grade groups all the way down through, now iron sharpening iron, because if you're not competing and you're not out getting better, there are enough guys that will be around you that probably are working, and they will weed you out. because you're not only competing within your own class when you get into high school, you're competing against 3 other classes. And I've been trying to drill that home with all of our youth open gyms, all of our youth practices, and those sorts of things. It's like, boys, just showing up and doing things when we're here isn't going to get it done necessarily.
Right.
But to go back to answer your original question, I think the outlook and the future is great. Our dirt road got kicked off, and junior high as well, the same week or the same Monday that girls got started, so right after fall break. And junior high, just to give a little rundown, 8th and 7th grade got to travel over to Connorsville this year for a scrimmage, beat both their A and B teams at both levels, and then we did that kickoff round robin at Eastern Hancock this year, and 8th grade was able to beat Eastern Hancock by, I think it was 56-30, and Hancock had beat them the year prior, and then they were able to beat South pretty handedly. I'm not quite sure on that score. And then turned around, and fortunately for me, I got dragged into keeping the book for 7th grade, but they were also able to come out victorious against Eastern Hancock and South Dakota as well. So very good start by them. 5th and 6th grade will start this Sunday. We actually are hosting at North Decatur. So I'll have the opportunity to see those guys play as I'll be hosting, so to speak. And 2nd, 3rd, and 4th will get kicked off there the first Sunday of December.
Yeah, so just wanted to a little plug here. Your first game is going to be at home this year against Greensburg on the 25th, so just about 10 days away. But if it's anything like last night, had a great environment. Both fan bases really showed out for the girls' game, so that was great to see. It's going to be exciting to have the Pirates in coming to Cook Court for that game here. And like I said, 10 days, ready or not, it'll be here. So
and I when I used to be JV coach, I'd tell my guys this. You don't always get great crowds for JV games, but it always seemed to be when we would either go to Greensburg or come to North, normally two pretty good JV squads competing. So, people coming for the varsity game would come for the JV game. And it holds true from the standpoint of you're going to get a sectional-like atmosphere on night one, whereas we're probably going to go through the season and 75% of our games won't be anything close to that kind of environment. South always is. Hauser typically is when we have 2 competitive teams, and then the 2 times that we play South Decatur. There's at least 4 right there that will be very electric, if you will, type atmospheres that give these young guys, especially when I talk about the sophomores, an opportunity to play in those style of games and kind of get themselves adjusted to what varsity basketball is going to be like.
Yeah, so I just briefly looked here at the schedule. Do we know where the boys sectional is going to be yet? Has that been determined, or is that still in the works?
Unfortunately, yes. We will be traveling up to Tri-High this year.
Okay.
Playing
Strong.
the Dungeon.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, it's have you played there before? Kind of an interesting gym, I guess. But yeah, it's always depending on how the schedule plays out when you play that trip. Up there 3 times potentially, being that we're in a 8-team sectional now is kind of interesting. But yeah, so it's exciting time for the Charger basketball team, and looking forward to a great season. Well, one more time, we'd like to thank WTRE for our Coaches Show and also our sponsors of the Coaches Show: Gillen and Howe Funeral Home, Acre Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy Right Auto. Proud sponsors of our Coaches Show. We want to thank Mr. Messer and WTRE once again for having us in, and have a great day.